Welcome back to episode 2 of our character customization series. Last episode we created our basic character customization system. Today we're going to continue to expand on that. We're going to fix some setup issues that I implemented and make this more kind of come together with how we want it to look visually. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go back into our character scene and we're going to go into our sprite base. And we're going to reset the position on our base and the collision shape. These positions are going to be set in our script, so we don't need to do that within the editor. Then we're going to go back to our main scene, and we're going to make a couple of adjustments here, which the issues that we're having visually, or why it didn't look so great at the end of the last video, was we need to make some changes to the setup inside of our main scene. So the first thing we're going to do inside of our hsplit container is we're going to add a panel container. And we're going to call this the character preview panel. Go back to the 2D scene actually, and this is going to be a child of our hsplit. Let's bring it to the top. And we want this to be full rect. So we're going to go back into our hsplit and make sure that this is set on full rect. And we want to add a split offset to our hsplit container, which is going to be 250. And then we can go back to our character preview panel, and in our layout and in our container sizing, we want to check this expand button. So that's going to make, this is going to be our entire preview panel now. As a child of our preview panel, we're going to add a margin container. We're going to put theme overrides in our constants of 16 across the board. Then inside of that, we're going to add a VBox container, which is going to hold a sub viewport container, which we had here, we called preview, but we're just going to move some things around and get rid of this. We want to make sure that we are on expand fill. Then we're going to go and grab our sub viewport. We're going to put this as a child here, and we can delete this other sub viewport container that we have. We can click into the sub viewport, and we want to make this actually 480 by 480. We want to make sure that our render target is still on always. Transparent background. Okay, good. And we want to make sure our customization panel is on full rect as well, but we would have to do that within here, and it is full rect, so that's good. Let me just make sure I didn't miss anything here. Okay. Then we're going to go back into our customization panel. And we need to make an adjustment in our container sizing. So this did not need to be in one of the shrinks. We want it to be on fill, and we want it to expand. In our margin container, we also want this to be full rect. We want to make sure it has our theme overrides of 16, which we did last video. And then we're going to add a VBox container, which we want above our color picker button. Then we can drag the color picker button in there. We're going to add a label. And we're actually just going to give it the text. We're just going to write skin tone. And our color picker button needs to have this 200 by 40. Now for the script, we do need to make sure that this new color picker button is going to be here. Just going to get rid of that. We can call setup presets in here. This isn't going to do anything until we implement our color swatches, but we can put that in the ready for right now as well. And back in our main, we actually need a main script as well. So let's go ahead and attach a script here. Let's make sure it's going to be inside of our scripts folder. Let's create that. The first thing that we want to do is make sure that we have our on ready set up. So we're going to drag in our sub viewport. We're just going to call it our viewport, the sub viewport container, which we're just going to call viewport container. And then we're going to drag in an onReady reference to our character. We're only going to need the ready. We're not going to need process. But let's just set up the bones of two other methods we're going to do. One is going to be called center character, which doesn't return anything. And the other one is on viewport resized, which also doesn't take in anything and does not return anything. So what we want to do, the top of our ready method is tap into our character, and we want to set it as preview. Then we're going to do a call deferred, and we are going to call into our newly created method of center character. And then we're going to tap into our viewport container, resized, connect to that signal, and then we're going to give it on viewport resized. Just make sure you're passing in the method name without the parentheses. So we're using call deferred here because we just want to wait for the viewport to be ready before we can properly center the character. We don't want to do it too soon or else we might run into some issues. In center character, all we're going to do is get our character's position, and we're going to set it equal to vector2, and we're going to get our viewport X size. We're going to divide it by 2, and then we're going to get our viewport's Y size and divide it by 2. In our on viewport resize, we're going to create 2 variables inside of this method. One is going to be container size. We're going to get the viewport size. We're going to get another one for minimum size, and it's going to be the minimum of the containers X and the container size Y. Then we're going to tap into our viewport's size. We're going to reset this to a vector2i, and it's going to be our min size by our min size. And then lastly, we can center our character. Oops, we're not in the method right now, so let's center our character now. Okay, so now we should be able to go in, and when we see this scene, this is what it's more or less going to look like. But this character is going to be in the center, and because here we're scaling it up by 3, it'll be a little bit larger than what we were seeing previously. So if we go in and play this scene, here we go. This looks a lot better. And we can still do the same functionality with our color picker. But now we actually have a bones of the character customization. It looks a lot better.